It's been a while. Today, we're going to talk in computer language and math, learning the different styles of variables that you will encounter in math. First is identifying what can be considered a constant variable. So let's use currency, for example. Let's say you have ND plus 1Q plus N, and what does it equal? First, let's declare the constants. This is dealing with money, so B is equal to dimes. Dimes equals to cents, or 0.1 in the decimal. Okay, so that's the first part of the equation. And next, we have to define Q. Q is defined as quarters ahead and set it up. We'll have 10 times 0.1 plus 1 plus 5 equals. So 1 times 0.1 is $1. You're only moving the decimal over about, let me see. You only move the decimal over about one place. So we would get $1 plus 25 cents times itself is 25 plus 5. 5, we add the two like terms, we get and like terms 1, as we now know them, 1.25 plus 5, oops, 0.5, and we have a total of $1.30. See, that's those are your constant variables. Here's another example of a constant variable that we work with. Formula for perimeter. Okay, in this one, the 2 is always going to be constant because in order to solve the equation, you have to use the distributive property to do that. And when you do, you get 2L plus 2W. So the 2 is constant, even though you have two different terms. Until you define them and enter them in, which would turn them into constants. Only then could you actually have really solved the equation. In computer, you have to learn how to do it, and sometimes it will be in the user interface. So doing this, you also have to use different words to declare variables. Let's do one. Let's write up a sample of how we would declare it in terms of money. Okay, let's see what we can do. So we know what that is, but in terms of programming, you can use the letter, you cannot. So you could say something like times equals times. So we could say we could say something like in our Tove chart, number of times, which we could say num dimes times x equals total dimes. There you would have a nice equation. Right there, let me erase this part since this was either way you could use the same. There you would have a nice equation for just to calculate the number of dimes. Dimes you have just by defining that. So you could say that num dimes is equal to 10 cents or 0.10 times x, whichever value that you enter would always get to, which would be that, and then x, what you could say is unknown or user input. Okay, that's just for one part, the first part. Next, we have to determine quarters. So we could say something like quart times, we can use B equals total quarters, okay? Which would be your total number. So we'll go back down here to make sure you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Okay, so there we have all the variables defined just in one point, just to point before we could even enter this into the computer or anything, because you always have to clear your variables in the computer, and you always have to learn which ones are constants and which ones are user imports. So for here, we would say that the quart is equal to 25. B is unknown or user input. This would equal the total number of quarters. Now let's do the nickels. We could say Oh, we could say Nick times, we'll just use C for the C for the unknown. Sometimes you can use a word, it doesn't matter. Okay, and there we go. So let's define what our constants are. Since Nick is a constant, we'll say that that is 0.05. Then C is unknown or user input, and then total Nick is equal to total equals. Now to put that all together, to go back up to the original equation to determine the money, based on what we just defined here, we could take the equals parts and merge them all together. So we can say, something like tote times plus Nick plus quarters equals total amount. So we added a new variable to get that. Total amount is not a constant. Total amount can always change depending on the other two. So total amount equals the sum of times and quarters combined. And based on that part right there, we have everything declared right here. So now we can put this into computer language. Open up a new project. Okay, here we go. We are not writing a Python application. We are writing this program in Visual Basic. Format, so we'll call this program since we're dealing with money, we'll call it money. Which also be the solution. So now, right here, you can save this to whatever drive you want. You don't have to save it to the recommended one. One, I always recommend a jump drive so it doesn't clutter up your computer. For me, I'm just going to put it to my desktop. Okay, and let's get started. Okay, now we got our program set up. Let's see. Go to our toolbox. Make this form a little more smaller to work with. We'll start here first. Let's change what we want this form to say. We'll just call it money. There, you see the top of the form has changed. Up here for the name, we'll change the name of that. So instead of form 1, we'll say form. Call it form money. That's what we're working with. Now let's see if we can remove some of the traditional buttons. A control box is going to be false. You notice there's things that are different in the Explorer. Now you could also change the background to anything that you want. You don't always have to use the traditional method, but for this exercise we're just gonna leave it. We could also do like an icon, which you can pick anything you want. What from your menu, it'll show it as a traditional icon. Like let's say, let me think here. Okay, so I don't have anything for that type of file. But if you did, you could use it, so we're not going to use that. Okay, you could also put a background image in there too if you want. But I really don't recommend it. For example, let's just to show that it could be done. Okay, so maybe that one was a little too big. Let's try something else. Sometimes this may come in handy if you're, depending on what your program is. Okay, let's try that and see what happens. See? There you have it. We're going to clear it and go back to the way it originally was. Okay, so now we've got this big space and we have to calculate some different things. So what are we going to need? Why don't we start with the buttons? Okay. Okay, we're going to need one to close the form. I'll just hit Control-C to copy. Got another one. We're going to need one to calculate it. And just for the sake, maybe we'll add enough. Let's add a few more just for fun to really mess with the user. See, it automatically lines. Now, you can also do it like this, and you can move them pretty much anywhere you want. Okay, so we'll just leave it about there. There, we're going to need a few labels. Okay, so we need a label to ask the user what are they going to do. I'm using Control-C again, add more. So we're going to ask the user, like, you see, you can even line it too following that simple. Okay, so we're going to need labels to ask how much money. So this could be dimes, this could be nickels. This would ask user quarters. Now, down here, we're going to need a few more labels. We're going to need a label to show the amount of quarters and dimes or whatever. So we're going to need a few more labels for it. So you need a label to show that we'll use this to show that this is what you actually have on quarters. Or this could be dimes. Okay, we want to show that. Okay, this will be for. Okay, this will be for dimes. And maybe we'll put another message over here. Maybe just for fun because we're going to mess up on the button. Now we're going to need some text boxes to input everything. Okay, the user has to say what he has. Oh, we can make the text box a little smaller. I'm going to copy it. Okay. Line them up. Line the labels up in line with the text box. Here we go. The labels are perfect. Let's make a few. Let's put some of the labels in. Well, no, that's. Yeah, that'll work. We can do that. Now let's start defining this label. Okay, the text of this label, we'll go at the bottom of the currency. We'll say that the label is nickels. Now you can also change the font anything you want. Well, in here in the font section, I'm just using the sans serif font for now. You can also change the characteristics to whatever you want going up here. Now, to create a label for it, let's just say that this is I'll just use, I'll call it WL10. You always want to keep your labels in your code short, simple, so it's easy to remember. Okay. Next, this will be times, so we'll call this thing WLP. And for here, have it show it in the text, we'll say dimes. Okay. Pretty simple. Here for the text, we're going to say quarters. Text, we'll just say WL2. Okay, so we got our text boxes declared. Let's line them up. Okay, so let's. There, now we got something really perfect. Now let's define this one, because we know what it's going to be. We'll just call it text n, because we're defining nickels. Here, we're going to define it as text a, because we're asking for times. Here, of course, if you figure out, we're going to call this the text q, because we're asking for quarters. Okay, now we got that part done. Let's go over to here and define it else. Okay, so this will be, because this is the total of times, we'll just say WL. This is total of nickels, so we'll say PN for total of nickels. Oops, no, that's what we want. Okay. Down here, we can put the same thing, or we can put something different. But we'll just put the same thing just to make things easy. Over to here, well, since this is the actual amount, we'll just call it. Wait a minute, no, this is the text, so we're doing everything in decimals, so we'll just do 0, 0, since that's the text part. We'll call this WL since this is the amount. Say a n amount of nickels. We'll call it that. Look, since this is total of dimes, we'll say WL TD for total of dimes. Here we'll just call it times. Seven, we're just going to make the text show as we give it blank. Since this is going to be the actual amount, let's call this WL AD. Okay, so now that's squared away. So let's go here. We're going to call this WL EQ for total quarters. Text, so people know, we don't know, we'll call it, we'll say a quarters. Okay, the label in the text we're going to say again it's 0.0. And we're going to call this WLAQ. Okay. This one we're just going to call it LBL total because that's exactly what it's going to be. Now we'll just call it P for short. That's pretty simple. We'll just put where it says label 10, we'll have it say total. And For 11, we'll just call this WLA. That's the actual amount. Oops. I did that wrong, so let's do this right. WLA. Okay, here. Now let's line these up, make these a little more perfect. Hey, there we go. Over here, the text, we'll just, since we're just going to put a stupid message there anyways, we'll just call it text. And name the label. Name it WLX. Okay, now we got to declare our buttons. Okay, one of them has to be closed, and we do want to confuse the user. Okay, well, this one will be our total, so we will call this. Well, we'll just call it total. Wait a minute, no, that's not right. We'll just call it BTNP. BTN meaning button, P for total. And here for the button property, we'll show the actual text. We'll just put total. Just for fun, we'll honor my daughters. We'll have one to say Hatsoon. And we'll call it BTNH. Okay, so that takes care of that button. This one, in honor of my youngest, we'll call this one BTNP. And we'll call this, and we'll say that text, we'll have it say Batman. And then this one, the text will say, since I love buses, let's say yes. This will be called WLB. Well, let's add another text just to be fun. So another button. Let's put the button right about there. Let's confuse the user. call this button. TN BB. We'll discover why in a minute. I will put this as the text say, in honor of my favorite school bus, we'll call it Bluebird. Now we've got some real work right here. Well, we got to set it up now. Now we have to code it so it will tell exactly what to do. We have to go to the code. So to really mess with them, of course, you can always do this right. We'll go over here to total. Okay, there we go. Now first, let's give a few lines at the top. Control Z. Oh, then I did this wrong. Let's clear this. Let's redo this. see what we're going to do. First, we're going to save this. And then reload it. Now let's go ahead and go ahead and reload the program. Okay, now back. Let's see if the thing will behave a whole lot better. Let's do this. Okay, I'm going to have to redo this later because something messed up in the computer. Let's see some here. This is what I'll do. Let's see. All right. There we go. Let's keep this form a little bit more sized up. Okay, looks a whole lot better. Let's check to make sure that. Okay, let's see if all the properties are. Okay, good. So let's go back and do the properties on the form. X we're going to say is money since we had to rechange it. Call this FOMR M for money. Now let's get those controls eliminated. Going to take away the minimize box, defaults, take away the maximize box, defaults, change this to fixed. Change this to false, and there we go. Now there's no other way to them to get out unless we tell them to get out. So we're going to have a little bit of fun. We're really going to mess with them. Okay, so we'll just say me dot close. Now that'll close the form. Let's get some space here. Okay, set these up here. Oh, let me cut and paste them. And while we're at it, we're going to go ahead and put our name. This is how you do comments. You just put a tick. You can type whatever you want. The code never sees it. It's invisible. Sometimes this will help you to help you define the different classified and different sections. So just operator. We'll say that this is a money calculating program. Close it with the tick. Now let's go ahead and declare our variables. I'm going to use dim instead of, you can use dim or private. I'm going to use dim. Okay, we need one for nickels, so we'll say dim. MNK, as we're going to call it double. Let me see if I've got this right. Okay. Okay, let's see where I went wrong. Okay, so let's